introduction, my topic today is why be a good public speaker. But before I start, I want to say I'm honored to be here at the Research and Development Center. This is my first time here, and I'm going to decrease my honor by telling you something very embarrassing about me. But I'm looking in this audience about 15, 20 people, right? And what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you to keep it in this audience. Don't share it outside, okay? But anyway, when I was a student at MIT, I was co-chairman of the African American Science and Technology Conference. And one of my jobs, which was a simple job, was just to introduce the president of the school. So I said, this is a no-brainer, and I didn't give it any thought, because as you know, when you have a conference, you have a whole lot of things to be busy about. You know, getting the speakers, arranging the venue, the topics, all the various things that you have to do. So I was busy with that. So on the day of the conference, with hundreds of people in the audience, faculty members, students, and we had representatives from some of the leading companies in the U.S. who came there to check us out. I mean, it was really my time to shine. So I got up there to introduce the president, and I said, please help me welcome the president of MIT. And I totally forgot his name. I stood up there and I froze. And I felt like it was an eternity. Until he tapped me on the shoulders and he said, Nashid, don't worry about this. It happens to the best of us. Jerome B. Wiesner. I could never forget that name. So that was an embarrassing situation for me. You see, math and science I knew. But a simple thing like standing in a crowd of hundreds of people to introduce the president whose name I knew. It's not like I didn't know the man. I knew his name. I just So my first lesson in why being a good public speaker is to avoid embarrassment. That was my first personal lesson. So let me share with you why. You may look at me and say, hey, I am a research scientist. Why should I be a good public speaker? I am a doctor. I am an engineer. I am an HR specialist. I am a systems analyst. I am a dentist. Why should I even bother with being a public speaker? What is there in it for me? How is that going to benefit me? Why should I bother with it? Well, I'll answer your question with a question. How successful in life do you want to be? Do you all want to be successful?
Yes.
Do you all want to be successful?
Yes.
If you don't, you can leave. I'm only kidding. But if you all want to be successful, do you want to have low success, mediocre success, or high success? That's your choice. Being a good public speaker can help you with those things, and I'll share with you why shortly. But in Saudi Arabia, there's something that can cause us to be successful that is only unique to Saudi Arabia and nowhere else. Does anybody know what it is? Those who have heard me say this before, please be quiet. Don't ruin the joke for others. Does anybody know what it is, the thing that can cause you to be successful here in Saudi Arabia that's unique and no place else in the world? You don't know? Any ideas? You got it. It's wasta. With wasta, you can be successful, but I'm bringing that up because wasta, you have to be careful. It'll get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you there, especially if you work with colleagues who say, hey, he really doesn't know what he's doing. You know, so that's one way that you can be successful. So let's talk about a study that was done by the Carnegie Institute of Technology, Carnegie Mellon Institute of Technology. This study took a look at what were the factors that influence success in the workplace. They did a study looking at the factors that influence success in various careers, industries, and so forth. And they came up with this result. They found that 15% of our success is influenced by our IQ, our intelligence quotient, our analytical skills, our technical skills. It's very important to have technical skills. That's very, very important. You can't minimize that. But this study showed that 15% of our success is influenced by our rational, technical skills. And that a bigger portion is influenced by other intelligence. Actually, 85% is influenced by these other intelligences. And we know that this is true because you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you're like this guy, a pain to work with, we can't really call him successful. You can be very technical, but if you can't relate to people, can't get along with others, you can't really call your life successful. So, can anybody tell me what they think the other 85% are? What are these factors? Any ideas? Emotional intelligence. Boy, I should sit down. I don't have anything else more to say. Anybody else? Wellness, yes, that's true. Anything else? Good, I think we have a very bright audience here. But basically, what the study showed was that what the factors are: one, your moral intelligence, your spiritual health, your moral character, how ethical you are, how kind you are, how generous you are, your character as a human being. When you get angry, does everybody run for cover? Or can you control your anger? How good are you at controlling your anger? That's your moral intelligence. Also your body intelligence. Do you eat the right foods? Or are you a junk food eater? Do you get enough rest at night? Do you go to the gym and exercise and work out hard and try your best to look like me? But anyway, how well do you take care of your body? Your body intelligence. Those things are factors for your success. But the biggest factor of the 85% has to do with your emotional intelligence, which is your personality and your ability to communicate. I should put that in highlights. Negotiate and lead. You know, the VP of Exploration, Mr. Asadan, how many of you know him? Oh, know of him. Mr. Asadan, he had one of the interesting things he said. He said, you know, I've been to many meetings, and people will present ideas, but by the way they are speaking about the idea, I didn't even know it was a great idea by the ability, the way they communicate. So it's very important for our success is our emotional intelligence. There's a saying, emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. No man is an island. As human beings, we are social beings. We have interpersonal skills. How we relate to each other is very, very important. So emotional intelligence that deals with our ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead is very important in terms of how we relate to each other, and that is a big contributor to our success. So, the key for this, the way it ties into public speaking, is that public speaking positively impacts our emotional intelligence. So, our formula is public speaking, being a good public speaker, impacts our emotional intelligence, and our emotional intelligence is a big factor that influences our success. So, this is according to the study by Carnegie Mellon, and others have done a similar study to show the importance of emotional intelligence. I know when I joined IBM, I had to take an intelligence test, which was a lot of math and relationships and, numbers and all this. IQ was the way that they measured your intelligence to see how successful the possibility of your success in that organization. Now, a lot of companies are using EQ, emotional intelligence tests, to measure the intelligence of the possibility for success. So, we talked about the fact that being a good public speaker will help your emotional intelligence, which will influence your success. But what are the qualities of a good public speaker that influences our success? Let's look at some of them. One is a good public speaker is self-assured. They exude credibility. They're confident. They are also optimistic. They tend to look at the bright side of things, not the rainy side of things. They truly believe that it's not your aptitude, but your attitude which is detaining you from gaining altitude. Can anybody tell me what that, you've heard that expression before. Can anybody tell me what you think that means?
Can you repeat it?
It's not your aptitude, but your attitude, which is detaining you from gaining altitude. Any takers? Anybody speak English?
Positive. Positive.
Positive thought?
Your views stop you from being successful.
Right. It's not your inherent ability. We all have inherent ability. But it's not our inherent ability that keeps us from being successful. When I say your altitude, altitude is, in other words, let me just put it this way. It's not your inherent ability, but the way you look at things, your attitude towards things, that blocks you from being successful. Okay? So, people, if you have a positive attitude, you'll be successful. Let me ask you this. Do you think human beings are born naturally with a positive attitude? How many believe that human beings are born naturally with a positive attitude? Great. How many believe that human beings are born naturally not having a positive attitude? Well, I agree with the ones who say human beings are born naturally with a positive attitude, and I'll prove to you why, those who doubt it. Now, when a baby begins to walk, right, it doesn't just get up and walk across the floor like this, right? That baby starts to walk, it gets up, and it falls. It gets up again, and it falls. And it keeps on getting up and falling hundreds of times. Who taught that baby to be positive and to keep trying to walk? Did his mother teach the baby, say, hey baby, don't keep falling and give up, walk, get up? It was something in the nature of that baby, right? Something in the nature of that baby that told it to keep on getting up, that it will be successful. And as a result, the baby stood up, Before it walked, it crawled. And then it tried, and then it could stand. And then finally when it takes its first step, it falls. But something in the nature of that baby kept that baby, excuse me, kept that baby trying to continue walking. But you know, the thing about human beings, life can be very hard on us sometimes. Life can give us a lot of bad experiences, things happen. And this natural thing sometimes is lost. And then we have to learn what we were given naturally at first again. So a good public speaker is someone who's optimistic, who helps you look at the bright side of things so that you can achieve your highest potential. A good public speaker is also self-assured. They're authentic. They're authentic. They are who they are. They're not trying to be somebody else. And by being authentic with themselves, audience can relate to them a lot easier, because it's not somebody I'm trying to be like Rao or somebody else. I'm authentic to who I am. And in my presentation, I come off that way. You know, I like to tell people, one of the secrets of being a good public speaker is to be able to be as comfortable on this stage as you are talking to your best friend. If you can achieve that, if you can feel comfortable on the stage as you are speaking to your best friend, then you come across more naturally, right? It becomes very easier for people to listen to you. But I don't know what happens. Some people, they get up on a stage in front of a lot of people, and they transform. They were a human being before they got on the stage. But when they got on the stage, they become the werewolf. I'm not the werewolf, but they hide. It's like a different person altogether. So being authentic is being natural to who you are regardless, you know, of where you are. Also, a good public speaker is mindful. They know how to structure their talk to not have things that takes away from their message be part of it, okay? So that they can get their message across effectively. A good public speaker is also imaginative. By being imaginative, you can be unique, memorable, and also inspiring. If your mind can conceive it, you can achieve it. By having a good imagination, you can say, this is what I want my audience to leave with. I want them to leave with this unique message that they may not have gotten from anybody else in the world, and I'm going to present it this way. And you come up with your thing, with your unique way of doing things. So a good public speaker is very imaginative. Also, we were born to be real and not to be perfect. Have you seen those kind of people who can't do anything unless it's perfect? It has to be perfect, otherwise they won't do it. No, we are real. We'll make mistakes. Mistakes. Not mistake one, mistakes, plural. We'll make mistakes, right? But that is part of being human, right? And as a result, we benefit, we grow from those mistakes. So we don't have to be unreal and act like we are, you know, when I speak to you, I have no mistakes in the world. I'm just a perfect person. You can't touch me. You can't be like me because I am this and you are that. So a good public speaker is real. Discerning. Careful. Careful of the sensitivities of your audience. Careful about what you include in your speech and what you don't include in your speech. If you're speaking to a group of R&D people like you, I won't speak the same to you as I would speak to a group of high school students. I have to be discerning. I have to be very careful of my audience, and also cultural sensitivities. Things that are taboo, you have to be aware of that. So a good public speaker is discerning. Voice quality. How do you use your voice? The rate, the pitch, the volume. You know, if I want to make an important point, I can make an important point by lowering my voice. Or I can make an important point by raising my voice. Fire! Get out the building. Everybody leave. So a good public speaker understands the variation of how to use the voice as a vehicle to make important points. You don't want to be monotone. A good public speaker would not be monotone. If everything was monotone, it'll put us to sleep, right? But by raising your voice or lowering your voice, you have hills and valleys, so to speak, in your speech, such that people will know what are the important points and what are not, and everything is not treated as the same. A good public speaker is fearless. They take chances. They get outside of their comfort zone. And they believe there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Being fearless, does that mean that there's no fear? How many think it means there's no fear? How many things being fearless means that there is fear? Right. Being fearless means that there's this fear, but you're going to continue to do what you need to do despite having that fear. So that's important. Could you imagine if you were to speak to an audience like this size, with all these people looking at you, waiting for you to say something? When you say, nice seeing you, but I have to go. Nice people, but I have to go. Or would you have the courage to get up and speak and say what you want to say with all these people waiting to hear from you? Imagine that, looking at you. It takes courage, right? So a good public speaker is one who has courage. They don't have fear. Now, fear has two meanings. It can be forget everything and run, or it can mean face everything and rise. Rise to the occasion. Deal with the issue despite the presence of fear. Which one would it be for you? You sure? I'm going to come and test you. I'll find out where your offices are and come and test you. Okay, the choice is yours. Well, I've talked to you about being a good public speaker and showed you some of the qualities of being a good public speaker. But I'm going to tell you something that's a little bit shocking. Being a good public speaker is not the end-all or be-all. It's not the real thing. I call being a good public speaker the bait. The real value is something else. You know when you go fishing, right? You take the hook and you put the bait on the hook. The bait could be a piece of shrimp, a worm, piece of worm or something, and you throw this line, your line out into the water. The fish sees the line and it says, a free meal. So the fish swims towards the bait. And it thinks it's the bait that it's eating, but it quickly realizes that there's a hook. But you as the one who threw the line out, it's not the bait that you want in the fish's belly. It's the hook, right? The hook is what is really important to you because the hook allows you to reel in the fish. So what is the hook? If I call public speaking the bait, can anybody tell me what you think the hook is? What is it that's the real value of public speaking?
The message.
The change.
The message is one.
The impact.
Somebody say you change, which is good. And attention. So what is it doing to you?
Positive impact.
I'm saying, come join me. I want you to join my organization. We'll make you a great public speaker. That's debate. But let me tell you what the hook is. The hook is self-confidence. Self-confidence is the belief that you can achieve anything. None of you would come into this room if you didn't believe that you knew English well enough to understand my speech. Without self-confidence, you won't be able to do anything. With self-confidence, it gives you the capacity to proceed in your action knowing that there's success at the end of it. I define self-confidence as believing in yourself to accomplish any task, regardless of the difficulty, the opposition, or the obstacles. And I believe that self-confidence is a skill that we all can learn. It's a teachable skill. But can anybody tell me how we learn self-confidence?
Trial and error.
Trial and error.
Perseverance.
Repetition, 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 repetition. By getting up and speaking publicly, the first time you have all this, what do they call it in your stomach?
Butterflies?
Butterflies in your stomach. You're nervous. But then as you keep doing it, repetition, repetition, before you know it, you become very confident. So I like to say, with repetition, the more you do something, it becomes habit, right? If you do something a lot, it becomes habit. If you do it even more, it becomes nature. And when it becomes part of your nature subconsciously, without you even realizing, you're doing the things that you've made part of your being. So, self-confidence. From self-confidence, it leads to self-development. It's like that baby that gets up and walks and falls, stands, and now the development has taken place from a crawling being to a being walking on two legs. So that's a development that takes place. Then from self-development, you have self-empowerment, one of our critical behaviors within Aramco. You become empowered. Like that baby, now that I can walk, boy, I can do many things. I can go to the kitchen and pull down some food or whatever. And before that, I am empowered to run, you know. So with self-empowerment, you have the capability to do many things. And you feel empowered because you have went through that growth stage from self-confidence, self-development to self-empowerment. And lastly, you have self-transformation. You have transformed. Like that baby that transformed from a crawling creature to a walking being, you have transformed into a new person. So I remember Muhammad. Well, you all heard of Muhammad Khatani, right? Yeah. The world champion of public speaking? Yeah. He stuttered. He didn't start speaking until he was it 5 years old?
6.
6 years old. And he was someone that you would never think, because of where he came from and his background, that he would be someone that would end up being the world champion of public speaking. Even if you talk to Muhammad today, I saw him yesterday, he still stutters. He still stutters. But he was able to overcome that and to deliver a powerful speech that touched the minds and hearts of millions, not thousands, but millions all over the world, because of going through this transformation. Now, with all those things, self-confidence, self-development, empowerment, and also self-transformation, it allows you to do things. And what does it allow you to do? Motivate and inspire others. You can become an influence to help others be better, to be greater, to reach their highest potential. Be a great leader. I don't believe a leader will be great who's not a great communicator. The best leaders are great communicators. They know how to talk to people, whether it be a leader in your job environment, a leader in the social environment, or a leader in the world environment. The best leaders are great communicators. Overcome fears. Yes. Did you know your, God, I'm drawing a blank, your, it can be a prison, your level of comfort, what's it called, the area of comfort?
Comfort zone?
Your comfort zone, excuse me. Your comfort zone can be a prison. Some people live their whole life from birth to death never going outside of their comfort zone. Never doing anything outside of their comfort zone. And they're in prison not realizing that if they can overcome the fear of getting outside of their comfort zone to do something different, it may cause unimaginable growth. So, overcoming your fears. And all of these things allow you to reach your highest potential. I don't believe a person can really reach their highest potential unless they feel free to express themselves freely. You may have the great ideas, but if it's locked in your mind and you're fearful to speak, fearful to communicate, then you are limiting your achievement to great potential. And I like to compare that to a butterfly that emerges from its cocoon as a new being with powers and capabilities that it never had before. It can now fly and defy the pull of gravity that kept it as a creepy crawly creature on the earth. So the gravity that keeps us in our comfort zone, the gravity that keeps us from reaching our highest potential, is something that public speaking can help you overcome. And you know why I say that?
Why?
Has anybody heard the expression about, in terms of fear, where does public speaking rank in terms of things people fear?
High, pretty high. Top.
Some people fear public speaking more than they fear death. Kill me first before I go up there and talk. Okay? So public speaking is up there. They say public speaking is the greatest fear that a lot of people have. And if you can overcome that greatest fear, if you can develop yourself such that you can articulate your ideas very clearly, then what other challenge is there in life for you to fear when you overcome the greatest fear? Right? Mm-hmm. So it's important to develop your public speaking skills. Okay, I've talked to you about the qualities of great public speakers. Can anybody here, any of you tell me who you think are great public speakers? Anyone that comes to mind?
Tony Robbins.
She cheated.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, anybody else? Martin Luther King, yes. Anybody else?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yes. All of them are great public speakers, and they all are leaders in their field. Here are a few. Tony Robbins, you all know him, right? Mm-hmm. Not only is he a great public speaker, but he has influenced the lives of, I would dare to say, millions. His message has caused people to change their life for the better. And not only that, the man is making mega millions as a result of the work he's doing. Also, Les Brown. How many of you are familiar with Les Brown? He's another great public speaker. His parents abandoned him, and he was raised by foster parents from a poor background. And he didn't become great until he developed his public speaking skills. He was a Toastmaster. He learned how to speak, joining a Toastmasters club, and now he is influencing the lives of millions. You all know Oprah, right? There's not much I need to say about Oprah. you know, with her interviews. She's an actress. If she was fearful to even get on the stage, she wouldn't be the person that she is today. You all also know, I don't know if you know Zig Ziglar, but if you haven't heard of him, I suggest that you Google, do a Google search for Zig Ziglar, and listen to some of his speeches. What I told you about, it's not your aptitude, but your attitude, which is detaining you from gaining altitude. He originated that statement. But the man, I mean, I was very impressed. I lately came on to Ziglar. I was very impressed with his motivational speeches. Nick Vujicic, you know him? He was born with no arms and no legs, but is making mega million dollars going around the world giving motivational speeches. Not only that, he's married to a beautiful wife and has a wonderful child. He could have said, I can't walk, I have no arms, no legs, and just live like that. But he did not let those obstacles overcome him. So these are all examples of great public speakers. But the next public speaker I'm going to tell you about is someone very special. It's someone that will really revolutionize the world and make the world a much better place. And it's someone that we all can identify with. And that next great public speaker that I'm going to tell you about is you.
Uh-oh. Quick again, honey.
What happened to mine? It's you. Each and every one of you. You all have within you the potential to be great public speakers. And I want you to remember this. If you forget everything I said in my little talk here with you, remember this. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. Once you have that firm belief, there's no challenges you can't face, no mountain you can't destroy. And you can build yourself into reaching your highest potential. Millions of people live before us, millions of people are going to live after us. But we only recognize a small percentage of those people. Remember, you don't have to be in the world between, the space between birth and death and die, and that's it. You have inherent talents, you have inherent skills to allow yourself to reach your highest potential. I didn't say anything about Toastmasters, but I want to end by mentioning this statement about Toastmasters. Toastmasters, how many of you heard of Toastmasters? Wow, we did some good marketing. Everybody know. It's an organization that's here to help build your communication and leadership skills. And in the words of the founder of that organization, the mission of Toastmasters is to create a mutually supportive and positive learning environment. It has to be supportive because when you are working with people trying to develop a skill that is well known to be, for some people, the greatest fear, you have to have a friendly environment, an environment that makes that person feel comfortable to come out of that fear. Every participant has the opportunity to develop his, her communication and leadership skills. And lastly, debate his communication and leadership skill. And it shows that the founder of Toastmasters understood clearly what the hook was. It fosters self-confidence and personal growth. That's the hook. That's the hook. That's the aim. Because self-confidence and personal growth, you can take that anywhere you are, go in the world. Once you have that, you've got it. You can be who you are. You can express yourself. You can not just recite good poetry and just talk. You know, it reminds me when I say just talk, I was doing an interview for some of the what we call key contributors, the ones who were the tops in the organization because we were trying to build courses and we wanted to use the knowledge from the best people in the organization. And I was interviewing this guy, and we were talking, he said, you know, what's that organization that teaches you how to talk, but not how to think? And I said, what are you talking about? Then somebody said, Toastmasters. Oh yeah, Toastmasters. Why did he say that around me, especially? So I said, do you know what it takes to put together a speech? Do you know the thinking involved? You have 7 minutes of giving speech. Do you know the research and being able to put your ideas together logically so that it makes sense and to have people listen to you and not fall asleep? I had to explain to him the importance of what Toastmasters is. It's not just where people just learn to talk. No. The hook is foster self-confidence and personal growth. That's the main thing. That's what the real hook is, not debate. I mean, anybody can talk and read and be a gift of gab, but how many people have self-confidence? How many people have personal growth? How many people have went through the changes from becoming from a caterpillar to transform, go through metamorphosis to become a butterfly, to bring out the best that's in them? So, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Thank you very much. And I just want to end by saying, if at MIT I knew what I knew now, even if I didn't know the president's name to introduce him, I would have said, please help me welcome the president of MIT, a man who doesn't need any introduction. Help me welcome the president. And still not mention his name. But instead I froze. I froze. But please, I hope this talk has benefited you. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to entertain them. Just make them easy questions, okay? Because I can't think too well. I'm only kidding. Just ask anything you want, anything your heart desires. That's a clap, not a question.
She has a question, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I have a comment. Thank you first, Nashid, for coming over and give us this very interesting talk about public speaking. For here, as scientists in the R&D, I think it's very important to link that to our presentations that are presented at conferences. It's nice to link the public speaking with the knowledge you're transferring and sharing with your audience. So I just want to add that
Sure.
It's not always about the science in your presentation, it's the way of delivering your knowledge to the audience.
Sure, I agree. You know, Mr. Asadan, I call him the quotable Mr. Asadan because he's the VP of Exploration. One of the things that he said that's very powerful, he said, I can have the best technical person, the best geologist, the best geophysicist, the best scientist, but if they cannot translate what's in their mind to others, then they're only good for themselves and no one else. Yes, being able to speak at conferences, being able to get your ideas across, being able to make sure that the words you use will elucidate someone's mind and make them see the picture that you want them to see is very, very important. Okay, yes, there's development that goes with being a good public speaker, but the main thing is, like I said, emotional intelligence is the ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. Our ability to communicate is very, very important, whether it's a speech, whether it's a presentation, whether it's whatever. Go ahead.
Thank you for your talk.
You're welcome.
I have a brief question. What would you recommend for a practice that might develop the skill or take it to another level, like daily, weekly?
Well, what I suggest, as I mentioned before, we have Toastmasters clubs in Aramco. And it's something that the company has invested freely. In fact, they pay for your membership, most of the clubs that are here. I would suggest that you join Toastmasters.
Like, for example, public speaking.
Yeah.
Because doing Toastmasters is a great idea, but sometimes the person couldn't find a great time for
Okay. Well, what I would suggest that you do, if you can't join a Toastmasters, but you should be able to go to these Toastmasters clubs that happen in the evening, during the day. But anyway, challenge yourself. If you're in a meeting, right, and something's being discussed, and you know you want to say something about it, and normally you won't, say it. Okay? Don't keep holding yourself back. Just challenge yourself and push yourself to do something that you normally won't do. And the more you keep doing that, the better you become. Even if you know you'll make mistakes or whatever, but you have to, on a personal basis, say, okay, they're talking about this, they're talking about that. I don't know if I want to say this, I'm afraid. Then you find somebody said the same thing that you that you had in mind to say anyway. But challenge yourself and don't keep holding yourself back. Just push yourself to speak. And when there's opportunity to give presentation, jump to it. Don't shy. Like a lot of people, they shy. They don't want to give presentations. They don't want to say anything. You jump to it and make it happen. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any more questions?
Nashid, thank you for the wonderful presentation. Each time I hear it from you, I learn something new. My question is about PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you use wonderful slides.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, of my 20 years plus experiences in the industry, nowhere PowerPoint skills have been as important as they are in Aramco. From your experience, how important they are? Could you do without slides? And what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is that I remember when I worked with IBM, I was the general manager for one of the leading IBM locations. And we went a big meeting, big hall, all of us was there. And he got up to give his presentation, and they had technical difficulties. And he said he couldn't give his presentation. The CEO of the company made a very degrading remark. He said, if I have someone who is one of my leaders and don't know their material well enough to present their material without a PowerPoint, then they're not worth being in the position that they're in. I would focus more on knowing your material. Know your material well, so that the PowerPoint is not meant to be a crutch that you depend upon. It's supposed to be an aid to help elucidate your ideas. As you see, when I gave the PowerPoint, I didn't read the slides. I would put it up. In fact, many of the slides that I put up didn't have much writing. So recognize that just like if I were to tell somebody how to wash dishes, I can tell them how to wash dishes, washing the dishes and show them. Or I can explain, and I can tell them, this is how you wash the dishes, without even having that as a prop. So the PowerPoint is a visual aid. You can use it very effectively to get your point across. But don't make it a dependency. Make knowing your material the real important thing for you. Well, thank you very much. I hope you gained something.